When there's increased volatility in the market, there's more opportunity to make more money if you play it right than when the market has less volatility. And similarly, when there's just increased volatility in, say, geopolitics as a whole, there's more ability for more significant grabs of power than there are when things are more equilibrious. And so the saying, never let a good crisis go to waste. Sometimes crises are just completely made up, right? They're false flagged. Sometimes they're not false flagged, but they just naturally emerge. And then some agents are more focused to see how they can advance the agendas they already had, utilizing the dynamics of that situation rather than try to fix the situation. So let's say, for instance, that I was one of the many people that got good intelligence back in early January about what was happening in Wuhan and how many people, 5 to 7 million people left Wuhan before quarantine, and that they got on planes not to the rest of China but to the rest of the world, and what was likely to happen from that. So we see some senators that sold stock in January, right? But that's a small part. Like, those are formal intelligence briefings to people who have classified access, but the private intelligence agencies largely work for hedge funds and financial institutions and things like that, and they're looking at the same information. So if I run a hedge fund and I see that there's a situation that could have meaningful downturn to the economy, but I can make money when the economy goes down, and we're already at the top of a stock market that's probably about as high as it can be because the underlying economy is actually very unhealthy, right? The total percent of GDP that's going to debt servicing is unsustainably high. The wealth inequality is unsustainably disparate. It's basically a power law distribution. You have a few companies that make up most of the success of the stock market because it's cap weighted, and then almost everything else pretty profoundly lagging. You have a totally unsustainable amount of total debt, and all of that's resulted in the need for ongoing quantitative easing and a negative yielding bond market and totally weird stuff like that, right? And so the market's not going to keep going up and staying that high forever anyways. And so being able to have that foreknowledge and say, now is a good time to sell these stocks. And by the way, let's actually short a bunch of stuff to make money as the market goes. Excuse me. To make money as the market goes down. And then the value is going to get really low. If airlines can't fly, the price of airlines is going to get really low. But airlines are a real thing the world's going to need. The value of that's not just going to evaporate. So being able to buy it up at hugely discounted prices before it goes back up is pretty awesome opportunity to consolidate power. And let's say that I have large pools of liquid capital and so I'm a family office or a sovereign wealth fund. It has been hard to deploy that capital very effectively for a while because I've got negative interest yielding bond markets. I can't just make interest by sitting on it. And, there hasn't been huge volatility of the type that could be very effective, and stock market prices were high, but now you can deploy that capital very effectively by being able to buy up real valuable utilities at a very discounted price. Also, if I am interested in increased surveillance capitalism or increased surveillance state or just concentration of power of any kind, when things get worse, people become more willing to accept solutions that have some consequences. And so I don't even have to do anything to make it bad. I simply have to not make it better. Say we're working on it, and bureaucracies are slow until we get to the position that we actually have the capability to do something. And if I'm trying to advance a geopolitical agenda and I really want an alliance with these countries who are currently allied somewhere else, and I can just to help the situation break those alliances, like all of those types of things. I'm not saying anyone did anything. I'm saying that these are reasonable things to understand that there's an incentive landscape for, right? Now, people who own hedge funds or large pools of capital, they had the intelligence of what was happening. Could they, if they wanted to, maximally help and try to start engaging solutions and trying to use some of that money to influence governments to say, hey, let's actually put these travel bans on sooner, and let's start getting test kits rolled out and PPE distributed, and et cetera. Of course they could, and they can say it's not their job. And it's not their job, right? Their job is to maximize return for the assets under management for their shareholders, which they do a very good job of. Do I think that's a conspiracy? Do I think they intended the virus? No. But I think that their incentive is to do predatory opportunism more than it is to solve the problem.